guys? Today is been 1 week. It is now Thursday, July 8th. I've been doing the Zone diet for 1 week. I weighed in at 160 pounds this morning, which I believe means that I lost about 3.5 pounds this week. Once again, still too early to tell if that's a diet or if it's water weight or what. Just wanted to share with you guys some things. Sorry about that. Driving right now, as you can tell, and so I had to do a crazy maneuver. It was a left-hand turn with an oncoming vehicle. But yeah, so things have been pretty good. I feel pretty good. Today I was I've been working a little hard in the workout, and that's really affected my body today. And so I was a little out of it, but for the most part, I mean, my experience with the Zone has been pretty positive. I'm not starving like I thought I would, and if anything, it's caused me to always look like any other diet would. It caused me to look at all the nutrients that I'm taking in, specifically the 3 macronutrients, the proteins, carbs, and fats. And so I just wanted to let you guys know that today I went and wasn't able to eat at home, so I had to go out. So I stopped by Trader Joe's. So I went into Trader Joe's and got myself a lunch, and I got a salad. It's a smoked salmon salad. I'll show it to you in a moment. And it was just interesting to be shopping for a meal while you're thinking about Zone ratios, looking at carbs and proteins. And a lot of people who have been talking to me about it this past week just are intimidated by the amount of time it takes, the time consumption factor, which is a valid concern, I have to admit, because I do find myself taking the time for each meal. Although I do think that it is more worth it in the end. I think that it's benefited me more, and I think that's really what it boils down to. Is it worth making this lifestyle change? That's what I'm trying to figure out right now. And I want to know that based on how I feel, the health benefits, how much weight am I losing, and what does it cost me, the amount of time. And that seems to be the most intimidating thing. Another thing that I found on the web and just listening to people who talk to me about it is the hunger factor. And will I be starving? Because a lot of people's impressions on certain diets, and this may be true, is that it tends to take you to a place that you're constantly hungry. And that's something that would concern me when I first looked into this. I didn't want to be starving the whole time. I don't like that feeling. Although I'm not starving, I am hungry about every 3 hours or so. I think my body's gotten used to the regular intervals of eating, and this is letting me know, hey, it's time for your next meal. It's time for your next Zone snack, which I thought was pretty interesting. All right, so I've come to a stop sign. I just wanted to show you guys some food here. This is the salad, this smoked salmon salad. It looks pretty yummy. In here, you have about 8 carbs versus 20 proteins, and I got a drink too. So that has 32 carbs and no proteins. So I'm slightly short on my proteins, if you look at it, because that would be 0 protein. That is 20. I should have between close to 24 to 28. While I was in Trader Joe's, I actually stopped at the little the demo cart, and there they had this like sausage pasta thing, and so I ate the sausage, just a little bit of pasta to add additional protein. Little tip trick there. Also, something I found throughout the week for you Zoners who are interested in doing this, my buddy Jason had mentioned how his favorite drink, or excuse me, his favorite Zone snack was a 1.5 cups of milk, which is 2 blocks. And I didn't really appreciate it until I started doing the diet, because it has the perfect ratio between carbs and proteins. And so I found that that's been my go-to whenever I needed a snack or I needed something to eat that was quick and I didn't want to think about it. It was cool to be able to just measure out a 1.5 cups of milk and just drink that, and that was good. And you'd be surprised at how it sits with you long term, and that was cool to know. Also, I found I'm kind of lactose intolerant. I have a mild intolerance, so when I do drink lots of milk, my body kind of rebels a little bit. But I've also found that it's kind of adjusting. I think that because I don't drink, or did not drink as much milk as I do now, my body wasn't used to it. So there is that factor, and it's toning down. It's starting to adjust, which I'm very thankful for. Eating a lot more vegetables than I'm used to eating, and I guess in some regards, in the beginning, it's a lot more simple. So I don't make these extravagant dishes that I used to make when I cook, because I really love cooking. Instead, I just kind of, on my plate, I need vegetables, so here's my tomatoes, here's my chicken, or here's some cheese to fulfill those requirements. But they're like in sections. It's not all mixed together, which is really interesting for me, because I'm not used to eating that way. It is kind of rather robotic, in the sense of it doesn't have a lot of pleasure in it. But then again, for me, I like simple and I like clean. So if you're like a person who likes defined portions and defined eating patterns, you're really going to love this type of diet. I think an advanced zone meal would be to learn to cook zone style, which I want to get into eventually. But right now I'm still, just baby steps the whole way. But it's been fun. It's been really interesting. Also, something that I learned on a side note. Whenever you do a diet, or I shouldn't say learned, it's something I was reminded of, is that unless you're completely self-sufficient, unless you can carry your entire pantry with you or plan everything to a T, you've got to account for those times when you'll be away from your home or away from a place where you can't zone it. You can't follow the diet. And so you got to account for that. You got to it's human nature. Nothing's perfect. So, like, for example, this weekend, I had to account for a 4 to 6 hour time block on a Saturday and a Sunday when I was out and about that I couldn't eat zone, and I came off zone. I did for 4 to 6 hours, but I don't feel guilty looking at it, and now I've planned for it. I said on the weekends, it's totally cool. I'm not going to guilt myself for 4 to 6 hours if hanging out with some family or friends, and I have a couple beers, and that beers are high carbs, or sodas, or let's say I have a lot of breads and let's say I didn't have any protein, which was the interesting thing. I went to my sister's house this weekend, and I had to eat something before she got there, and she didn't have any protein around. So I had to suck it up and just had to eat something, and so I came off the zone diet there. So it's just a little thing, if you end up doing this, just keep in mind that it's not perfect, that you got to account for those times when you can't control everything. And I was reminded of that this weekend again. But I'm back on the zone, no big deal. And Barry Spears says that in his book, that essentially, if you mess up on a meal or something like that, it's no big deal, because you can come back to the zone with the next one, and it's not a big deal, because it's a constant habit that you have to build. It's meal by meal. It's not a week-long thing where if you eat right for the whole week and then you screw up one meal, that you messed up the diet. There's a lot of flexibility. There's a lot of forgiveness and grace there. So it's just really cool. So for you zoners who are interested in trying, it appears to be really strict, but there's a lot of flexibility to learn. There's a lot of growth that can take place, and it has challenged me to think about what I eat more than I ever have before. And I think it's benefited me. And I'll keep you filled in on exactly what's happening with my body. Like I said, I'm losing weight. The exercises seem pretty good. I don't feel drained. Sometimes when I go and work out, I feel pretty level and moderated for the most part. So I'm wondering if that's going to be consistent. And aside from yesterday, I've been sleeping pretty well, and just been enjoying it. It's been kind of nice. It hasn't been that crazily difficult. Once you adjust to the measurements, it's not so hard anymore. It does take a little bit of time of planning before each meal, but you can actually eat well and enjoy it. So, alright, it's been a week. This is day 7 on the Zone Diet.